Hello friends, my name's Linda Dolke and I'm a demonstrator with Stampin' Up! In Australia. And today I'm going to be showing you a cool background technique. This is something I've been playing with for a little while over the last couple of weeks. I made this card and you might be able to see, I'll just bring it up a little closer, this kind of mottled background here. And I've done this very simply. So this is only a quick video today. I'm going to be using bubble wrap. Now I have used bubble wrap in techniques before, and I might put a link down in the description below for another technique I did with this some time ago. But today we're using it with bleach. Now I'm just using normal household bleach, like what you might find in your laundry, and I've popped it into an aqua pen. So these aqua pens we currently have, these are being retired as at the 2nd of June 2020, but we are going to have new water pens. They'll be called water pens, not aqua pens, in the new catalogue, which I think you'll also like. So you don't have to rush out and buy them or anything like that. You just take off the tip and then you can put water in the barrel to do watercolouring, but in today's example we're going to be using it with bleach. So I've put bleach into the barrel. And the other thing, just a tip that you might want to do is when you do this, put the word bleach on the side of your pen. I just used a Sharpie, just a normal old permanent marker to do this, because you don't want to mix this pen up with the ones that have got the water in them, because you're going to get a totally different effect. So this is really simple. Let me show you how it works. I'm going to be using grey granite, which is the colour I've used in this example, and this is kind of like a beigey grey kind of colour with a touch of mauve kind of in it. But depending on what colour cardstock you use, you're going to get totally different results. So I invite you to experiment with different colours of cardstock. And let me just show you before we start of a couple of examples. So here I've used it on Flirty Flamingo, which is a pink cardstock, and you can see it's gone quite white, quite a light colour. Here I've used it on black, and you can see the design, but it's very subtle. It's kind of like a brown colour, chocolate kind of colour, but it is very subtle against the black. It's not particularly outstanding. On soft suede you can see I've played around with this one and added some other bits, but it's gone yellow. So it really depends on what colour cardstock you're using. This one's Night of Navy and it's gone kind of like a light brown, a light beige, and on Real Red it's gone kind of like a creamy colour. So totally different depending on what colour you're using. So experiment with your favourite colours. And oh, here's one more. This is on Pool Party and it's white on that one as well, which I might use this one and pop up another card on my Facebook page today with this, because I think that's really pretty. So we're going to be using grey granite for this, but the sky's the limit as to what colour you might want to use. So I've got a piece of bubble wrap. I've cut my bubble wrap to be slightly larger than the piece that I've used, or a similar size to the piece that I'm going to be putting my colour onto. And I'm going to squeeze my aqua pen so that I see the bleach come down into the barrel and is just about dripping off the end. You can have it so it's just starting to drip. And then I'm just going to run my aqua pen over my bubble wrap so that the whole thing has got some bleach on it. It doesn't matter if you haven't completely saturated it. You're going to get a variegated result regardless, but you can see that's fairly simple. And I could put this piece onto the bubble wrap, or you can go the other way and put the bubble wrap onto the cardstock. It doesn't make any difference. I'm just going to pop that on there. And I'm going to sort of push it so that I'm getting good contact between the bleached bubble wrap and the cardstock below. Okay, so I'm making sure that I get good contact. And then I'm going to take that off. And on this grey granite, initially there's not a huge noticeable difference. Let me pull it up a little closer. You should be able to see it. There's a bit of a purpley look around the edges here, where there's more bleach, and where it's lighter, it's kind of a lighter effect. You can see that. So I'm just going to set that aside. Well, actually I'm not going to set it aside, but normally I would set this aside to dry, or you could dry it off with a heat tool if you need to hurry it up. But I'm actually going to start adding a little bit of colour. You might notice on the one that I've got here, I've grunged up the edges, and so I'm going to do that with this one. I'm using a stamp set called Label Me Bold. This is on our retiring list, so it's being discontinued this month. I love it. I love the little words, which are really easy to use, and these little grungy kind of stamps make some great backgrounds. So just pulling that one out, and I'm going to use this little kind of grungy stamp here, and I'm going to go around the outside. Now you could use, I'm going to go with like a brown, the same as I did on this one here. To get this effect, you could use soft suede, or you could use early espresso. Both of them work really great. In fact, let's use both on this card just to show you the difference. And I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to go around the edges. This is the soft suede. Soft suede is a great color for grunging up things. Now, what's interesting is if your bleach is not completely dry, the bleach may actually take some of the color out as you stamp. So it's already starting to lighten up the edges of the stamp. So the stamp is actually, the color is pulling out of the ink as well as out of the cardstock. That's why if you want to get a really strong stamped result, you might want to wait until this is completely dry. On my original here, I don't know if you can see, but when I stamped across this edge, it actually yellowed some of the ink that I was using. And I was using early espresso ink, but it did actually take some of that ink out. So that's happening here. With the soft suede, it's actually turning a little bit green, which is kind of interesting. So let me zip around the rest of my piece here. It's gone quite green, hasn't it? So it's a bit of a surprise, this technique, because bleach will do different things to your colors depending on what color you're using, both the cardstock and the ink, and how long you give it before it starts to. So you can see this has gone really, really green where I stamped initially while it was still quite wet. It's had a bit more time to dry for the rest of it, so it's not doing that immediately, although I can see a little bit of green coming in around some of these as well. So that's kind of a cool thing. All right, if you wanted to move up to another color, the early espresso looks great as well. And that's the one I used on my original. I'm going to go back over this green look with some of that early espresso. Coming around. And now we're starting to get a lot more green popping in around here. I think it looks really great. It's really interesting what it does. Okay. Now on my original, I also came in and embossed. Once it was well and truly dry, I used my silver embossing powder because I've silver embossed my camera from the Capture the Good stamp set. I love this camera stamp. I think it's fabulous for all kinds of cards. So the silver embossing on the black cardstock for the camera, I matched up with some silver embossing around the edges, and the stamp I used for that is actually this one. So it's another grungy stamp. I love my grungy stamps, which is this one here from the Painted Poppies stamp set. This one is not retiring. You don't need to rush out and grab it if you haven't got it already. It's a fantastic set to have for this kind of thing and for all kinds of stuff. The poppies themselves lend themselves to so many different ideas and techniques. Okay, so you can kind of see how that came together. I did also add the word smile with early espresso ink, and then like I said, I used silver embossing on black cardstock for the camera, and then I hand cut or fussy cut around it and popped it up on dimensionals, and that was my whole card. So it didn't take very long to do. It is on a black piece of cardstock underneath, which also looks really good, especially if you're adding black in the center here. That should give you some ideas. So just depending on what colors you're using as to how this is going to turn out. Aren't they all different? And look, there's the one I just did. So I hope that gives you some inspiration today. You can do so many different things with this really cool technique. Super simple to do and very quick and easy. So I hope you'll give it a try. Have a great day, guys. Bye.